Brazil has never lost to Norway. Not once. Not in over a century of football. 2 draws, 2 losses for Norway across 4 meetings. And Brazil, the most decorated nation in World Cup history, always found a way to survive. Until they didn't. 5 World Cups. Pelé, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, a canary yellow shirt that carries more weight than any jersey on earth. Every 4 years, the question returns, the same as it always has. Can Brazil win it again? For 24 years, the answer has been no. And in the summer of 2026, on a human night in New Jersey, that wait didn't just continue, it turned into something that felt like a warning. The answer didn't begin against Norway. It started years before the opening whistle. Brazil has appeared in every single World Cup since 1930. No other nation can say that. But history like that becomes its own kind of pressure. Since the last title in 2002, 4 tournaments have ended in disappointment. A humiliation in 2014, quarterfinal exits in 2018 and 2022. So Brazil did something it had never done before. It hired a foreigner, Carlo Ancelotti, a man who had already conquered every major league in Europe, became the first non-Brazilian ever to lead the Seleção into a World Cup. Calm, experienced, a serial winner. If anyone could finally end the drought, surely it was him. For a while, it looked like the gamble was working. Brazil won Group C. They drew their opener against Morocco, then found their rhythm, beating Haiti and Scotland by 3 goals apiece. Vinícius Júnior looked like the best player in the tournament, scoring 4 times, including a brace against the Scots. And then there was Neymar, Brazil's all-time leading scorer, returning from a devastating ACL injury that had nearly ended his career, brought back for what many believed would be his final World Cup. When he stepped off the bench against Scotland, it felt like a story writing itself. But the round of 32 told a different truth. Brazil needed a stoppage-time winner from Gabriel Martinelli in the 96th minute just to get past Japan. They were winning, but they weren't convincing, and nobody wanted to say out loud what that might mean. Then came Norway, a nation of just over 5 million people. A team that hadn't reached the World Cup in 28 years. A team that, before this tournament, had never won a single knockout match on this stage. But they had one thing Brazil didn't fully account for. Erling Haaland, the most clinical striker in the world, and a golden generation finally arriving at the same moment. The first sign of danger came early. Bruno Guimarães stepped up to take a penalty that could have settled Brazilian nerves before they'd even begun. Norway's goalkeeper, Ørjan Nyland, guessed right and saved it. The tension that miss created never fully left the stadium. Brazil pushed. Norway defended with a discipline nobody expected, and as the second half wore on, the game that Brazil was supposed to control began slipping away from them, quietly, minute by minute. In the 79th minute, Haaland rose above the Brazilian defense and headed home. 11 minutes later, he found space outside the box and finished low, calmly, like he'd done it 100 times before. 2 goals, game over in almost every sense that mattered. Brazil did pull one back. Neymar, in what may be the final act of his international career, converted a penalty in stoppage time. But by then, tempers had already boiled over. He was booked for a reckless foul on Martin Odegaard. A flare-up broke out at midfield. It wasn't the fight of a team that believed it could still win. It was the fight of a team that knew, somewhere underneath the noise, that it already had lost. Brazil didn't lose because of one match. Look closer and a pattern starts to emerge, one Brazil has spent over a decade trying not to see. This was the 5th time in Brazil's last 6 World Cups that they were eliminated by the first European team they faced in the knockout stage. Not a coincidence, not bad luck, a trend. Different coaches, different generations of stars, different tactics, and somehow the same result over and over. So the real question isn't what went wrong against Norway. It's whether Brazil is still standing at the summit of world football, or whether the world has simply, quietly, caught up. And yet, football has a strange way of offering hope right when it seems least deserved. Endrick, still only 19, is already being spoken of as the face of the next generation. Ryan, a teenager who forced his way into the squad through pure hunger, showed flashes of what comes next. Ancelotti has already signed on through 2030. The foundation for the next rebuild is already being laid, whether Brazil is ready to admit it needs one or not. Brazil has survived heartbreak before. It survived the Maracanazo in 1950. It survived 7-1 in 2014. It has survived every generation that swore the magic was finally gone for good. Maybe this is the end of an era. Or maybe, in a stadium in New Jersey, on a night nobody in Brazil wanted to remember, something else was quietly beginning.